Hello, namaste, greetings. Minor technical difficulties this morning, but I think it's going to work out. The cursor on my computer didn't want to move around for a while, but it's all good now. So we can get started. Welcome to Get Back to Yoga. If you're sitting on the floor, just stay there. If you're not sitting on the floor, we're actually going to start on the chair doing some things after we open class. So you could just sit in a chair from the very beginning. So that's what I'm doing. I have my chair already. And we will be using the chair a lot for what we're going to do later in class as well. So whether you're sitting on the floor, in a chair, just make sure you're able to sit up nice and tall. If you're sitting in a chair, make sure your feet are grounded. So depending on your chair, your height, whatever, you might have to adjust a little bit. Don't sit up so high that your feet aren't firmly planted on the floor. We're going to start with a mudra called Urdhvam Marudana Mudra. Such a tongue twister. So it's very simple. You're just going to make a thumbs up shape with both hands and then turn the thumbs out. So your palms are up, the forefingers are curled in. So we're just going to sit up tall. You can close your eyes or just soften the gaze and look down at the floor in front of you. For the first few breaths, try to hold the hands up so your elbows are 90 degrees and the hands are just kind of floating in the air. And after a few breaths, if your hands start to become fatigued, you can just rest them down on your lap. But at least the first 3-4 breaths, maybe try to have them off the lap. And then as you start to breathe, sending the breath first down low into the belly. Take a couple belly breaths. In through the nose, out through the nose. The next couple breaths, let's try to bring it right to where the elbows, right in line with where your elbows are. So right around the rib cage. By expanding outward into the elbows on your inhalation. And maybe 2 to 3 breaths like that. And continue. I'm just going to turn my music down a bit. I don't know if it's too loud, if it's going to interfere. Okay. And then the last couple breaths, try to bring it into the upper chest. So raising the upper chest, or maybe feeling puffing up in the upper chest on your inhale. Not lifting the shoulders, but trying to puff up or fill the lungs all the way up to the very tippy tops, which do go up kind of high in the body. And then just release the hands to the lap. So you can keep your eyes closed still or just be gazing down at the floor. And I'm just going to explain a little bit more about this mudra and why we're doing it today. This is called the gesture of the upper spine. So Marudana Mudra has a lot of variations, and this one is in particular for the upper spine. So kind of between these 2 points that we did from the elbows and then to the upper chest, that corresponds with your upper spine. So we're just going to be working with our awareness there a lot today. As usual in this class, we are going to be working with a neutral spine, but our theme, or kind of our overall focus for the month in all my classes, not just this one, is going to be, well, for this class, I'm going to call it lengthening or opening the front of the body. So this is, in other classes, this will go further into back bending. We're not really going to do back bending in this class. We don't normally do that. But we're going to do some things where we're opening the front of the body and making it longer here, which would take you, the next step would be into a back bend. And we're also going to be working on strengthening the back so that you can lift up from maybe like a forward fold position. So we'll get to all that as we go through. But as always, we will still be working with a neutral spine. We're going to actually start with the arms. So if you're sitting on the floor, go ahead and come into your chair. I'm going to turn my chair just like at a little bit of an angle so you can see more what I'm doing this way with my arms to start with. So when we talk about the upper spine, we really need to do a lot with the arms to take the focus into the upper spine, right? If your shoulders are tight or they're rounded or hunched forward, number one, is just not good posture for you. It might contribute to an over rounding in your upper spine. The upper spine is naturally a little bit rounded this way, right? That's normal, but we don't want to overdo that, especially if we're working with back issues, because it could lead to problems such as herniation anytime you're rounding forward chronically, right? So we want to be able to get that moving a little bit, that upper spine. So we're going to start actually with the arms. Moving the arms, loosening the shoulders. It's all good for the body, upper spine in particular. It's also the best thing you can do if your breath is feeling constricted. Once you loosen up those shoulders, I always find there's a really a great amount of freedom in the breath. So that's going to be another benefit of doing this work. So we're just going to start a couple times hunching the shoulders up, inhale, and exhale, dropping them straight down. Oh, I forgot to say, come to the edge of your chair. Sit forward on your chair. So there's a little bit of space between your back and the back of the chair. But just have your hands on your lap for now. Inhale, hunching up, and exhale, dropping. I'm turning my head to look towards the screen. I hope you're placing yourself so you don't have to turn your head. Just keep the gaze forward. Just a couple more times like that. And then some round circles with the shoulders, just going up and back. We're only going to go in this direction, right? Going back. So start to become aware of not just the shoulders themselves, like the shoulder joint, but also when you do this kind of movement, what is happening on the in the shoulder blades on your back, right? So we always think of the shoulder as just here, but really the shoulder blade is part of your back. It's on your back, right? And it has a lot to do with anything we're doing with the arms. So we want to make sure the shoulder blades can move so they're not stuck in one place on the back. All right, so now we're going to start a few movements with the arms. You're going to keep your left hand on top of your left thigh and just take the right arm, big inhale, and circle back. We're not doing a big twist. You can kind of maybe turn the head a little bit, but we're not trying to really turn in the direction the arm is going back. Just taking a couple big breaths. Exhale as the arm comes forward again. If you want to turn a little bit more and you think that's going to be okay for your back, you could, but we're really just thinking more of the arm itself right now. Okay, good. And let's do the other side. So right hand stays where it is. Inhale the left arm forward, up and back. I'm turning too much. That was too much. Exhale forward. Inhale, up and back. Think of turning the head more than the whole upper body. And just some nice big circles. Depending on tightness in the shoulders, maybe the arm doesn't go that far behind you. Don't worry about it. Just go as far as you comfortably can. as you take those big breaths. So notice as the arm goes up and back, the ribs on that side maybe can expand a little bit more space there. Okay, then both hands on the lap. We're going to do just a couple sun breaths. So reaching the hands down by your sides, palms forward. Big inhale, both arms sweep up. Palms will face in. Turn the palms out and exhale down. A few more times like this. Each time the arms go up, think of reaching further up. Exhale down. Trying to reach up to touch the ceiling. Inhale. And here, notice the shoulder blades really move a lot. Go ahead and let them move. Don't try to pull your shoulders down as the arms go up. That might be a cue you've heard in yoga classes. I do not teach that. So when your arms are reaching up, your shoulder blades should be feeling like they're reaching up as well. That's really the proper movement for your shoulder blades when the arms are overhead. And last time, exhale down. So now we're going to do a couple things starting to work more with the front of the body. Now that we've loosened up the shoulders, maybe the breath is starting to move a little more freely. Now you're going to keep your hands on your lap. And again, make sure you're kind of far away from the back of the chair. We're going to keep our neutral spine. So think of the length from the pubic bone to the top of the sternum right here. That length stays the same. And you're just going to start to lean back. Firmly planting the feet down, just start to lean back. And you're going to reach a point where if you go any further, you feel like the feet are going to come off the floor. So just stop before the feet would come off the floor and then come forward again. Big breath in and then exhale, lean back again. So keeping the spine long, inhale forward. Exhale, lean back again. Maybe a little bit further back. The hands can move back towards you on your legs. Inhale forward. I like to keep them there, maybe pressing down with the hands a little bit. Keep those legs down. So our limitation in how far back we lean, some of it would be, core strength. Maybe you reach a point where you kind of run out of that, or you touch the back of the chair. Or your feet start to come off, your legs start to lift off the floor. And you can feel not just the core front muscles working, but even the front muscles of the legs, right? You can feel your quads kind of maybe working a little bit there. So we're thinking of that as the front of the body as well. Okay, and then come up to sit. And now separate the feet wider apart. So the feet are still on the floor. Kind of like a straddle position with the legs going out to the sides, but the knees are bent. You're going to keep your hands right, just cupping over the knees, and just take a forward fold. So still neutral spine. Think of reaching forward, and just go to your degree of forward fold. And you're using your arms to support you. Inhale back up. Exhale. One more time. Inhale back up. So when we're lifting up out of a forward fold, it is the same, anatomically speaking, the same thing as doing a back bend, in the sense that you're using the muscles of the back to lift the spine, right? Exhale forward, inhale up. So you can feel, start to work a little bit. Exhale forward. One more time. Inhale up. Okay. It's just, you can stay right where you are. Okay. All right. I knew there was something else we were going to do in the chair before we stand up. So now we're going to bring the feet back together. Again, make sure you're really close to the edge of the chair and put your hands on the seat of the chair a little bit behind you. Hopefully you have a chair where you can do that. If you don't, you could do this sort of on the edge of the bed or a couch, because because you need to be able to have the hands on something. If you're on a chair, you can turn the fingers out, and it's quite, you know, stable feeling. On a couch, you maybe have to adjust a little bit. So the feet are a little bit more out in front of you. Move the feet forward maybe like 6 inches or so. Feet are parallel hip width apart. Okay, so don't bring them too much together. Roll the shoulders down and back. We're going to come into a high reverse table here. Okay, so if you're not sure what that means, I'll show you right now. You're going to keep the spine nice and long and straight. Inhale and exhale, lift the hips up off the chair. The head goes back. And inhale, come back down. Exhale, up again. Inhale, back down. One more time, exhale, and let's stay up for a couple breaths on this reverse table. Try to lift the hips from the shoulders to the knees, trying to get a straight line. And then slowly lower. Okay, very good. So now we're going to come up to stand. For this part, turn your chair so the back of the chair is facing you. Okay. So as usual, we're going to start with the hands on the back of the chair and just walk back to a down dog-ish position, right? So you walk the feet back, keeping a neutral spine, lower down so you're in line with your arms. So everyone, of course, is a different size. Chairs are different sizes. You don't have to use the back of a chair. If you find that this is too low, you can always use something higher, a table, desk. As long as it's sturdy, so you can really lean into it. You can even use the wall, and then your hands can stay any height that you need. First, we're just going to stay in our chair dog for a couple breaths, pressing the hands down and also reaching the sitting bones back. So using this as an opportunity to lengthen straight back. The sides of the body lengthen, the front of the body lengthens, the back of the body lengthens, everything. You can always do this with your knees bent if you need to. Good. And then coming forward, slowly just come towards a plank. You can always put your chair against something if you feel like it's going to move. And now we're going to walk forward. I'm going to say maybe a quarter of the way forward towards your chair. All right, so the feet are hip width apart, parallel. Make sure the feet are going straight ahead. Bend your knees and start to sit back. Hands are still on the seat of the chair. Now from here, we're going to try to lift the hands off the back of the chair and finally pressing all the way up to stand to Tadasana. So we're going to go back and forth a few times now in that Utkatasana or chair pose position. So what I mean by that is from your Tadasana standing up, you're going to bend the knees, make sure the knees are tracking straight ahead, like 2 train tracks over your feet, and lower down into a really kind of a low Utkatasana, almost like what we call skier's pose, right? And now release the hands from the chair. If you really need support, you can keep the hands there, but if you can, try to release the hands from the chair. And now we're just going to lift up, keeping the knees bent. Okay, so we come up more towards a true Utkatasana kind of shape, and then exhale, lower back down. It's called a skier's pose. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, down. So the legs, shape of the legs basically stays the same. And you're just lifting and lowering the trunk. Trying to keep your neutral spine as usual. I can see myself in the video, so it's kind of easy to see. That's one benefit of having the video. You can kind of tell what's going on. Also, if you have a mirror in your room, you can use that. But all right, that was a good amount. So now straighten the legs and come forward. High plank. Pressing the heels down for a moment. Okay, so very good. Next, we're going to do some things with, sorry, just need to check my notes a second. Okay, so now we're going to stand sideways to the back of the chair. You can have it either side. Well, let's say have it to your right side. So I have it to my right side, so we'll be doing the same thing. So I'm not mirroring, I'm doing right side with you. So my right hand is on the back of the chair. I'm going to stand nice and close so I can really be supported there. I'm going to maybe even lean a little bit onto my right leg so I can pick up that left knee and just hug it in. Taking a couple breaths, left hand around the top of the shin bone. You can even be touching the outer right thigh to the chair. If this isn't, excuse me, enough support for you, you can stand by the wall and, you know, really be supported by the wall a lot on your right side. Now we're just going to open up that left knee to the side. Maybe you need to lean even a little more to your right, so don't worry if you're leaning a little bit to counterbalance the leg opening to the side. And now what we want to try to do is slide the hand down towards the ankle, if possible, without coming out of a neutral spine. You might have to side bend a little bit, but try to minimize that, and then drop the knee, and you're holding onto the foot behind you. I'm going to, again, angle a little bit so you can see what my foot is doing back here. So what we're going to do, first, just hold that left foot in, and we're stretching out that left quad. You can feel that. Now, think of your trunk and that left thigh being in a unit, right? So if you tip yourself a little bit forward in the trunk, the knee is going to go back. All right, so let's just do that a couple times. Inhale, standing upright, and exhale, just dip it forward. Inhale up, exhale. Inhale up, exhale. All right, so now, still thinking this is one unit all moving together. Inhale here, and then you're going to lean over to your right. So kind of going over the chair. Exhale back up. Inhale, so the knee goes up and out to the side. And come back up. One more time like that, leaning over. So this actually would be hard to do if you had a wall here. You'd have to maybe adjust a little bit. All right, next, what we're going to try to do is forget that idea of the unit, okay? Now what's the unit is the legs staying together. So your two thighs are next to each other as if you're standing on both feet. You're going to stay there, and the upper body, you're going to try to lean back, okay? So I know you're not going to go very far. It's impossible to go very far. You're just trying to take the whole trunk, lean, and lean it back without letting the knee go forward, okay? So if we were doing it the first way with the unit being the trunk and the left thigh, then to lean back, you would let the knee go forward. You could do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you keep that left thigh aligned right alongside the right thigh and try to lean back there, it's kind of interesting how intense that becomes. All right, now finally, we're going to release the left foot back behind and come to a high lunge. So high lunge, the feet are parallel, going forward. Front knee is bent, back leg is straight. The further back you take the left foot, the heel will come off the floor. So it's fine to go back that far, but you don't have to. You could keep it closer in so the foot is down, but you're still parallel like this. I'm going to go a little bit further back. Okay, so here we're going to take a couple moments, really pressing that back heel down in our high lunge. Let's take the hands. You can keep your right hand on the chair if you need the balance, need it for balance. Otherwise, you're going to take a big breath in and raise the arms up. And then bend both elbows, dropping the hands behind your head. Interlace the fingers, make a little hammock, elbows going forward, and then just tilt the head back. Just enough to start to look up towards the ceiling. Elbows squeezing in and lifting up. Good. And then bring the hands back down. Okay, now we're going to place the back foot down for warrior one. So it can move a tiny bit out further to the left, and the foot is all the way down on the floor, angling out to your left side. Stay right there. And yes. Okay. All right, so we're in our warrior one. From here, have your hands on your hips. Inhale, lifting the spine nice and long and tall. And then exhale, lean forward until your upper body's in line with the back leg. Take a breath there. Inhale and exhale, come back up to vertical. I'm going to do that a couple times. Inhale, leaning forward. Exhale, coming back up. One more time. Inhale, leaning, or think of really reaching forward. And exhale, back up. Good. Now, straighten the front leg. Upper body still facing forward. For a moment, check out. If you turn the upper body to the left a little bit, the pelvis goes with it. And then turn forward again. Okay, so you're just feeling that. The spine can stay the same with that little turning of the pelvis. Now you're going to keep the pelvis square forward. Think of each set of quads lifting the kneecaps up on your legs. Big breath in, and now we're going to try to lean back. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale, lean back. It's not possible to go really far back because this leg behind you kind of stops on that side. That's fine. You're just testing it out a couple times like that. Rebend the front knee, put your right hand on the chair, and step that back foot forward. Good. Let's switch it around. Go to the other side. Go like this. Okay, so now your chair's on your left side. And we're going to do our right leg. Okay, so the left leg stays close to the chair. You can even be touching it or be close to touching it. Lift the right knee and hug it in. Standing up nice and tall. Just open that right knee out to the side. Keeping the knee up relatively high. You're holding it with your right hands. Good. Trying not to bend too much. You're just going to slide that ankle down, drop the knee, and you're holding the right foot like so. Okay, so standing up nice and tall. At first, we're thinking trunk and the right thigh are in a line, and they're going to stay in that unit, so to speak. Inhale, exhale, go forward. Inhale up, exhale forward. Inhale up. Exhale forward. And last time, inhaling up. Now we're going to take it over to the side. Exhale, lean over the top of the chair. Inhale, come back up. Exhale. Inhale. One more time. Out to the side and come back up. Okay, now we're going to keep that right heel hugging in close. Now we're going to forget that idea of being the unit. Now the two legs are the unit. They're not, the right thigh is not going to move away from the left thigh at all. Inhale, standing up tall, facing forward. Exhale, try to lean it back. Doesn't go very far. Again, we're trying to keep the spine straight, even though we're going in this direction towards like a back bend. We're not trying to really create a curve in the back. We're just staying with what's already there and going back. And you'll notice if you release the foot a little bit, it's easier, right? So you don't want to make it easier. You want to hug that knee, hug the heel in behind you, and then do your leaning back, and then you'll get quite a decent quad stretch. Okay, now you're going to release that right foot, reach it back behind you, and come to your high lunge. Again, at first, both feet are facing forward. The back heel can be up, front knee is bent, back leg is straight. Keep your left hand on the chair if you need it for balance. Otherwise, I'm going to take the hands out to the side. Big inhale. And reaching all the way up, palms facing in at first. Exhale, bend at the elbows so you are interlacing the hands behind your head again. Elbows squeezing in and tilting up. Think of just the head dropping back. So pressing back strongly through that back heel. And release the hands. All right, plant down the right foot. You can move it a little bit out to the right side and planting the whole foot down to come to your warrior one. So the front knee is still bent. Back leg is straight. Let's say, oh yeah, we're going to do our lean forward. Okay, so inhale, upright. Exhale, leaning forward. Inhale, back up. Exhale, leaning forward. You go a little bit further. Inhale, back up. One more time. Exhale, leaning forward. Inhale, back up and straighten the front leg. Let the body turn to where it kind of feels natural for it to go, all right, towards your right side. So everyone goes to kind of a different place. I'm not going to say like 45 degrees, but just let it turn to, it feels like how you might naturally stand. Turning the pelvis forward, we don't really naturally stand like this, so I'm just going to go back and forth just to feel what that range is. And notice the effect on your back leg when you go forward. Almost feels like there's a little spiral in that back leg, right? So now, facing forward, keep your hands on your hips. Inhale, nice and tall, and then exhale, lean back a little bit. Inhale, back up. Exhale, lean back. Inhale, back up. One more time. And coming back up, bend the front knee and step the right foot forward, coming back to Tadasana at the chair. Okay, excellent. We're going to come down to the floor. So you can keep your chair handy. We might use it, maybe you want to use it for Shavasana or something like that. But at first, you don't really need it. You can always have it handy if you need it to come down to the floor, right? Just for a little balance as you come down. So you can keep your neutral spine as you come down. Go ahead and lie back on the floor. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. Good. All right, and we're going to start with the knees bent, feet on the floor, and we're going to do our low bridge. Okay, so feet are reasonably close into you. They don't have to be super tight in, reasonably close into you. Feet and legs hip width apart, parallel. And if you have a block, I forgot to have my blocks on the floor, but if you have a block, you can hold a block between the upper legs. I'm going to grab my block because I want to show this. If you don't have a block handy, don't worry about it. I didn't mention that we might use it. Just occurred to me this would be a great way to make sure you keep the legs hip width apart. Very often when we do bridge, we can't see our legs. We feel like they're hip width apart, but very often they kind of start to splay open. The knees start to splay open, which can be over time, repetitively, will give you some issues in the sacrum area, and we don't want that to happen. So you can always put a block there for bridge. So you are squeezing lightly to hold the block in place. Arms down alongside you, palms pressing down. Again, just a low bridge, okay? So we're gonna try to recreate that unit, okay, of the upper body, and now both thighs at the same time. Inhale and then exhale, lift up. Let's just stay up. If this, you don't even have to go that high. If you feel like maybe that's too much, you can just stay low, just keeping the hips off the floor a little bit. Or if you want to try to find that line, upper legs in line with the torso. And then lower back down. So when we do bridge, we're putting all this weight on the backs of the shoulders, right around that upper back area. We want to try to not round there. All right, so this is actually kind of challenging, especially if you're used to doing bridge where you kind of peel yourself up off the floor. It's often, even I teach it that way in other yoga classes where you kind of don't do this, but like one vertebrae at a time lifts off. So the spine does a little bit of a wave, right? So when we do it in this class, we want to lift the spine of a piece, right? So think of it as that unit again, and then lower back down. All right, you can take the block out from underneath, and we're just going to finish up with just a couple things, a tiny bit of core work. I know you missed doing core work at the beginning of class. We're doing it towards the end today. First, you're just going to lift the feet off the floor, hook your hands over the tops of the knees. So we're not trying to bring the knees in super close or anything. We're actually trying to keep them as far as away as they can be while holding onto them. So the lower legs are relaxed and you're just pushing away as if you want to put the feet back down on the floor, but your hands are holding the knees in place. So you're pushing away. And take 3 to 4 breaths there. Feeling maybe a feeling of the hollowing out in the lower belly. Good. And then release that for a moment. You can rest, put the feet down. And now we're going to try to do kind of the opposite. You're going to lift the feet off the floor. You can hold on to them for a moment at first on the knees as we were just doing, as I explained what we're going to do now. We're going to lift the feet So now they're about 90 degree, there's a 90-degree bend in the knee. The knees are over the hips, so not too close in, over the hips. So right away, you can feel the core working just to hold the legs here, right? You could just continue doing this for 3 to 4 breaths, or you can add a little challenge by pressing on the tops of the thighs as if you are, pressing the legs away, but your legs are pressing back into your hands. And again, feeling the lower belly hollowing out. And 3 to 4 breaths like that. Good. And then slowly lower back down. Now, if you would like, if you feel it's fine for your back, you can hug both knees in. You don't have to get them in too close, but if that feels good to release the lower back a little bit, always do that. Okay. We have time for a quick figure 4 stretch. So crossing the right ankle over the left knee, pushing the right knee away, and then lift the left foot and holding around the left thigh. Take 2 to 3 breaths in your figure 4 stretch. Right forearm maybe pressing away slightly. The inner right leg. And lower back down. Switch sides, so right foot on the floor, left ankle on right knee, and left knee moves away. Hold around the right thigh. And then release down. Uncross the legs. And we're setting up for Shavasana next. So if there's something else you wanted to do quickly that would feel good, feel free. Otherwise, to set up for Shavasana, your choice. If you just want to lie flat on the floor, legs straight out, you can do that. Oh, sorry for that noise. Or if you have your chair handy and you might enjoy chair Shavasana, you can always pop the legs up onto the chair like so and rest in Shavasana like this. So I'll give you a moment to decide and set yourself up. And once you've gotten your position, make sure that you're releasing the legs. So even on the chair with the legs being held up, when you release, there's a little bit of a splaying out for most people. So let that go ahead and happen, kind of rolling a little bit to the outer calf. You might feel that, that's fine. Palms up. And just take a few centering breaths. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, softly. And continue to rest in Shavasana. A couple more moments. And the wonderful thing about doing online classes from home is if you want to stay in Shavasana longer, you don't have to come up and, like in a yoga studio, you have to get up and leave eventually. They are going to kick you out eventually. But you're at home. There's no one who's going to kick you out, right? So you can just stay in Shavasana, even if I'm saying like, oh, it's time to get up. You don't have to, unless you know that it's, you do need to go do other things. So please stay, enjoy Shavasana longer if you have that ability. I'm going to close class though. So if you're ready to come out, just roll over onto one side. Take a moment, maybe stretch out on the floor. eventually coming up to sit once again, and you can lightly press the palms together in front of you. Namaste. Thank you for joining. See you next time.